There are those people who find that the actual rope making process is extremely interesting, and they ask all sorts of questions, some of them very astute questions. There are others who are just not interested in the rope making at all. It might be something that goes on in their backyard every day of the week for the interest they show. I've been here a year now. Prior to this, my wife and I were teaching in Nottingham. Until recently, we have been working on our own, but now have obtained an assistant, Norman, who is able to help with the work. And he and I take turn and turn about at twisting and making up. Occasionally there are bottlenecks, but there are so many other odd jobs to do all the time that nobody need be unoccupied. We are keeping on the name of WR Outhwate and Son, really for two reasons. Firstly, that it was established with that name in 1905, so that there's good reasons for continuity. Secondly, in Hawes it would always be known as Outhwaite's anyway, so there seemed very little point in changing it. We took over the business from Tom Outhwaite. Tom's retired now, of course, but he pops in fairly regularly to see how we're getting on and to keep a benevolent eye on things.
I know it's been in the Outhwaite family for going on, well, just over 80 years, you know. I mean, it's rather a big break, but I'm very pleased that somebody else is taken over, and we've still got a Ropemaker in Hawes.
Well, the white material is in fact waste yarn from the Lancashire mills, and it's made up into what's known as a crossball warp. These form the strands of the rope, and the first task is a warping up operation, where you'll have to move your ankles tight. This is a 3-strand rope, and you'll see that we are taking strands from the 3 hooks on the twisting head, and they go back to the single hook on the sledge at this end. The warping threads are then cut, and the 2 loose ends are twisted in so that they're held by a small amount of twist. This wooden grooved object called a top is then inserted to keep the strands apart whilst twist is inserted in them. You notice the sledge is moving up all the time. We judge the amount of twist by the distance moved by the sledge. And then in that operation the 3 strands are laid together to form the rope, and the final operation is inserting back twist, which balances the rope. One of the questions that I'm frequently asked is why the rope doesn't come undone. What happens is that the individual strands are twisted in one direction and they're laid together in the opposite direction, and these 2 counterbalancing twists keep the rope together. When we're working together, Norman and I take turns in twisting and making up the ropes, so that this helps to relieve the boredom of the job. And quite often customers come in and break up the rhythm of the work, and so one of us has to break off and deal with them and look after their particular requirements. climbing. No, we're
not.
No, we don't make any
Yeah,
climbing ropes. This sort of system is not accurate enough for making climbing ropes.
What is the rope used for usually then?
These are all going to be halters, but most of
I
them
see.
for agricultural purposes.
Is this made all the time? You know, I mean, is this a full-time occupation?
Oh, yes.
No, it is, you know, I mean, it's not just for the benefit of the tourists.
No. Well, this little firm's been in Hawes about 200 years.
Oh, yes.
So, you know, the tourists are a recent phenomenon.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. But you see, we're not in a climbing area, basically.
No.
And they are such expensive ropes that really I just can't afford to stock them until I'm sure that there are people who are interested in them. This is really what it amounts to, yeah. A lot of people, when they come in, they, of course, only see one type of rope being made, and generally they see these hanging up on a pole near to the machine. Of course, very puzzled as to why the lengths of rope that we make tend to be very much shorter than the lengths that people usually associate with rope works. That's because we tend to be making rope products, as you've seen, halters and this sort of thing. In this instance, the halter length has been determined by tradition and custom, I imagine. I haven't done any research into it, but you end up with a length of rope about 4 yards long, which then goes to make the halter. Now, having put the loop in the end, this length of rope now forms the nose piece of the halter. It's a standard 20 inches, or it fits the majority of horses. Or the majority of horses fit the box, whichever way you like to look at it. If we're really working hard, you can make about 200 of the rope lengths. And I can make these at the rate of about 50 an hour, so that if there was enough to go at and I really stuck it in, I could probably make up about 400 of these in a day. Most of the halters are probably used by horse dealers, who I think tend to fit them on horses that are for sale, and then the halters end up by being given away with the horse.
He's a doctor of textiles, you see. And I mean, he knows the material. I think he knows the material a lot better than what I do. I mean, when he studied it, you know, and I mean, he certainly does it. He does know his stuff about the material side of the job. And I mean, if I'd got someone else to take over the business, it would have meant teaching him, you know, the different materials and all such as that. But I mean, I hadn't really to do that with Mr. Anderson.
Well, we were quite interested because your family were in Ropemaker.
Used to be Ropemakers.
Did they?
Oh,
100 years ago.
Yeah.
Whereabouts? Down in Dorset.
Oh, yeah. The sort of numbers of tourists were quite incredible. During the peak holiday periods, we were having something like 1,000 visitors a day, which, in view of the small space that we allocated for people to look around and to see what was happening, proved to be really too much of a good thing. Nobody could see properly. We couldn't get on with our work. It was not altogether satisfactory, but we had, we reckon, somewhere between 20 and 25,000 between Easter and the end of the holiday period in September.
When I was by myself, I didn't really cater for the visitors too much, because I mean, I had that much other work. I had some very big orders in, and it used to take me a long time to get them up.
Oh, nice.
Yes, those are the horse halters and leading reins and things like that.
Yes. It's rather sweet.
Well, they're very appropriate at the moment with the topsails on, just up the road, you see.
Oh, yes. Now, what are tops?
Rams.
Oh, beg his pardon.
They're known colloquially as
They're
tups.
Yes,
yeah.
I've heard the expression silly old tup, but I wasn't quite sure. I thought it was just an old sheep. It's a ram.
No, it's definitely a ram.
No. So that's a tup.
That's a tup. What about the tups?
Oh, up to 80 pound sheep.
Were they?
Aye.
What sort were they?
Swaddle, ewes.
Yes.
Morris Meckers out of Swelldale.
For a ewe?
Aye,
80
10 on them.
Good heavens.
Aye.
Incredible.
Getting me a 40 paper, isn't it?
You will indeed. Bit like the Grisdale one.
Aye, that's right. What is it coming on television?
BBC Two, I think. At some stage. New Year. We'll let you know.
Aye, right. We have a television like, I mean, we can watch it.
You can. Yes. Very good.
How long have I to stay? 'Cause the waiting like.
Go when you like.
Oh, right.
Not stopping thee.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, see you
Aye,
now.
all the best now, and thanks kindly.
And watch your rheumatics.
Oh, this damn.
When I first came up here, I really found it quite hard to follow the dialect of some of the older farmers in the area. And a chap came in and asked for a langle. Well, I hadn't a clue what a langle was. And so I said, I'm sorry, I have no idea. So the farmer said, well, a hopple then. So I said, well, I'm still really none the wiser. And Bill Wynne popped in and explained that it was a strap that they put round the ewes' legs to stop them climbing walls and escaping from the fields, you see. So we were, well, at least I knew what they were, although still hadn't got them to sell them. How we've remedied that situation since.
Well, there we are, 15 this time again, 15 again, right away from the same place. Now then, gentlemen. There we are, 15 funny yours again, there where you like them along in Sun on there, 765, then 2, then 20, 18 feet. All right, 18 pound on the bead, 18 pound on the bead, 18, 19 feet, 19 pound on the bead, 19 and then 20. All right, 17 pound on the bead, 17 a piece on the bead, 17 pound on the bead, 17, 18, well. At 21.50, you're out on the top now at 21.50. 21.50, you're out on the top, 2 beat, at 2 beat, at 2.50, at 2.50, now then come again, 2, 3. 2 or 3 beat, at 23 pound before him, at 23 pound the way, and I'm selling at 23 pound, on the top beyond the 23 pound in front. Lovely.
We seem to get a lot of customers who opening remarks are, oh, I remember buying ropes here when Tom's father was alive, sort of approach. And it's fairly obvious that they are old and favoured customers. I think one of the quite remarkable things of moving up here was that we felt that we would find it fairly difficult to integrate into a small rural community, because one hears tales of having to live 50 years in a place before one is accepted. Well, I think that's probably still true, but nevertheless there is a genuine friendliness towards us that we've noticed and have felt very grateful for.
One of the jobs I didn't expect to enjoy when we started here was selling. Not just the handling of money, but providing for somebody's need. And I find that is very interesting indeed. To be able to give somebody what they want and to find that they're pleased, and that particularly because I believe the product's a good one, it is a satisfying experience. One of the things that people find most interesting about these handles is that they make a very good skipping rope handle, but actually they're something else. They're an old part of a piece of textile equipment, no longer needed, and it's rather nice to be able to find a new use for them.
Mrs. Anderson, I didn't know her then, and she heard this here machine going, and she was rather curious to see what was going on. And I got in the conversation with her, and she said that her husband was a lecturer at Nottingham University, and he said he was looking out for another job. And I said, well, there's this business to sell.
Whereupon my wife decided that it was just the job for me, and rang me up, and I came hotfoot up here to have a look at it, and we decided we'd take the plunge.
I didn't give count much of it at the time, but I thought, oh, it'll just be just a flash in the pan, but at any rate it wasn't.
At the time we were negotiating to buy the business, a television programme went out showing Tom making ropes, and on this he let it slip that he was wanting to find someone to take it over. And obviously the sort of idyllic picture that the TVP painted of it stimulated many viewers into writing, and he was inundated with letters, nearly all of which, because I had a chance to read them, starting with the sentence, I've seen the business, your business, and thought it was just the sort of thing for my husband. It amuses me considerably that wives are the ones to find this extra sort of work for their spouse.
Can you think of any reason for that?
Well, I think that in all probability the average sort of job, certainly in the cities, tends to be too worrying for most people. The old saying that they're a one else a man in a two else a job, and the wives perhaps see them an opportunity to take the husband out of the rat race where promotion and all the rest of it take such high priorities. The change was in some ways not nearly so severe as I felt it would be. Partially, I think, because the time was right for a change. I felt that I'd been teaching long enough, and there have been various changes in the educational world which I felt were inappropriate to my condition, if not to the condition of the educational system as a whole. When I took over from Tom, he was very much concerned with producing goods for wholesale sale, really, rather than worrying unduly about the retail side. And in fact, the retail side was very, very small. I felt that there was quite a lot of potential here to improve the cash flow in the business, and so have opened up the premises somewhat.
It has altered a little bit. Certainly he's catering for the farmers as well, but he's catering more for the visitors as well. But I'm very pleased with him, you know. He has brought the business out a lot.
We've rapidly run out of space in this present building. It's a matter of some urgency that we get additional accommodation, and we've got plans passed for this, and the new building is in fact underway. Basically, I would like to employ a number of people. I think there's a lot of pleasure in employing people, because I think people are more important than products, which is perhaps an inversion of the modern economic theory, but I would suggest they've got it wrong rather than me. And this, of course, requires products, it requires additional facilities, more buildings and so on, and these are gradually going ahead at a speed which is determined by the amount of capital available.
I've got used to being in retirement, you know. Yes. I try and do a little bit of singing. I'm in the church choir, and I'm in the musical, the Hawes Operatic Society. I went to Spain in January of this year. When earlier on I was in the Holy Land. I'm hoping to go to Italy next February. So I'm just seeing a little bit of the world.